morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to NYSA Presents, where you see what you've been missing in 3D. And welcome to New York. I'm Johnny Laser, your host. Now, kids, we're going to move along because I got a great show. It's time for the ANAGLYPH Jukebox. Joe, press more buttons for us. Thank you. What do you have for us this week, by the way?
Well, we've got the start of the summer blockbuster. Maybe some people in our audience remember when entertainment was based on a more seasonal model. And Hollywood used to think that summertime, people were out, people were on vacation, they weren't necessarily going into theaters except to take advantage of air conditioning. And they would withhold their big blockbuster or prestigious releases until the fall. Broadway did that. The television season did that. But there was a massive hit novel by Peter Benchley called Jaws. Almost immediately, it was bought up by Hollywood and was rushed into production. With a director who only directed one other theatrical release film. From May to October in Martha's Vineyard, two of the biggest problems they had were the fact that other people were using the vineyard, and they often had to wait until the area cleared so that they could have a shot without other boats in it. And also, very famously, there were 3 mechanical sharks built for the production. One never worked at all, and 2 only worked intermittently. The one that you see most often in the film was the one that was called Bruce. So what became a brilliant directorial decision to withhold the main villain of the film was not a directorial decision at all. It was just practical. The shark only worked a little bit, so they could only show it a little bit. It turned out, however, that was also a genius move in terms of suspense. It was the highest grossing film in Hollywood after its release. It held that title for 2 years when Star Wars came out and became the highest grossing film. Between those 2 movies, the idea of releasing a huge blockbuster in the summertime became a Hollywood tradition. And now, let's see, and these are an ANAGLYPH trading card set from Jaws 3, which was in 3D.
There is a creature alive today who has survived millions of years of evolution without change, without passion, and without logic. It lives to kill. A mindless eating machine. It will attack and devour anything. It is as if God created the devil and gave him jaws. This is Universal's extraordinary motion picture version of Peter Benchley's best-selling novel, Jaws.
I just found out that a girl got killed here last week, and you knew it. You knew there was a shark out there. You knew it was dangerous, but you let people go swimming anyway. Did you see that?
It's all psychological. You yell barracuda. Everybody says, huh? What? You yell shark. We've got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July.
Is it true that most people get attacked by sharks in 3 feet of water, about 10 feet from the beach?
Yeah. What we are dealing with here is a perfect engine, an eating machine.
We're not only going to have to close the beach, we're going to have to hire somebody to kill the shark.
Bad fish, but I'll catch him and kill him.
Did you hear your father? Out of the water now!
This shark, swallow you whole.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
That's a 20-footer.
25. 3 tons of them.
Hurry up, he's coming straight for us. Don't screw it up now.
Don't wait for me! Now! Shoot!
Watch your tail.
Give him room! I can't! He's trying to run! Oh! Cut it quick! I can't hold it! Hurry! Break it up!
Brody!
None of man's fantasies of evil can compare with the reality of Jaws. Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, Richard Dreyfuss, Jaws. See it before you go swimming.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for bringing me back to that. My God, yeah. And how the public sentiment has changed. Now we're trying to save the poor creatures. Boy, was that bad PR for them, man. But that worked in such a great way. I remember, certainly recall everybody, if you saw it in a theater, the genius of that, just with the barrels coming up and the boom, boom, boom. That's all they needed. The mechanical shark was in your head. It just registered as terror. That was fantastic. And thank you for terrorizing us a little bit more. I appreciate that so much. Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. Okay, Robert Bowen is with us today. He to discuss his recently released book, The Human Shutter, Photograph Stereoscopic Depth and Moving Images. Now, he's a New York-based artist and writer and teaches photography, film, and art history at the School of Visual Arts. His work involves perception, distinguishing illusion from reality in photography, stereoscopic cinema, and experimental architecture. That's interesting. He visited us frequently when we had our in-person meetings before the world ended in 2020. And we're certainly happy to welcome back Robert. And that's a phenomenal book. Robert, you can unmute yourself there if you and show up if you dare.
I'm here. I'm here, John.
There we go. Well, I'm just going to ask a few questions before we go into the PowerPoint. What initially attracted you to stereography? Let's go back to photography. You probably started like the rest of us in still photography, right? And then moved on. Or I'm putting words in your mouth. How'd you begin?
Well, I was taking an undergraduate art history class, and they were talking about Marcel Duchamp, and they showed his stereograph called Handmade Stereopticon Slide. And that I kept thinking about that picture. The professor of that class said that he knew it was interesting work, but he didn't know why. And so I just found myself thinking about that for years, and that got me interested in photography, stereo photography, and cinema.
And then what led you to academics?
I worked in visual effects for many years, and I had a division at R. Greenberg Associates, or RGA, specializing in high-resolution digital stills, and also working with Kodak to do pin-registered scanning of analog film to make it digital. And then I started my own design company, and somewhere along the way, I started teaching. So, and then I sort of just segued into teaching. Technologies change, and markets go up, markets go down, and it was a good move for me to move away from that.
Yeah, right. Because as I started as a musician, I can't even say it, musician and composer, and I decided that it would probably be wise to be able to eat regularly. That's just so I found other things that would fill the plate while I was still doing it like you did, still pursuing the art part of it.
But it was very interesting working at RGA. I
Mhm.
mean, there were incredible people there to learn from. I remember there was this guy, Ephraim Cohen, and we got this assignment during the age of Magic Eye. We got an assignment to make Magic Eye posters. So Ephraim said, well, so we were this team that was doing this, and Ephraim said, well, I'm going to go home this weekend and see what I can do. So he went home and then he wrote the code for that, came back, and then we were making the posters on Monday.
That's so boy, is that not mischief? That's excellent, man. Um, and that would be like, I guess that's 90s, early 90s then, would that be?
Early 90s, yeah.
And what does RJ the acronym stand for?
So it
RJ.
was R. Greenberg Associates. And so, we did a lot of visual effects for Hollywood movies, Predator, Predator 2. They did the first Superman, they did a lot of stuff over the years.
And they were based in California?
Well, they were based actually in New York, and then in the mid 90s, they set up a division in California. It all went out there when suddenly you could do this pin registered scanning of analog film.
When you started moving more into stereo images, what were you using to shoot with? Because you obviously film at that point in the early 90s.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of filming, I was doing most of it using mono cameras. And I made a film, a stereoscopic film about New York that got shown around town quite a bit. And it was, it was all about offsetting mono film in time based on, I noticed Jerry Marks is here. He did that actually before that in the Rolling Stones work that he did. But yeah, so, in After Effects, you just offset in time and then assign color channels, make anaglyphic film that way.
Where is that film? Where did it end up that you made?
Well, it got shown in many places.
Do you have a copy of it?
I have a copy, but we also had a live band performing the music for it, and so it would be a major amount of work for me to go back, which I plan to do at some point, but to integrate everything back together because it was always performed live.
Exactly. So what you had to, while waiting to do that, you wrote a book apparently. Now, how long did it take you to write that book?
The actual writing took 4 years. I started right during COVID lockdown. But I've been thinking about it for decades and researching.
Yeah, because it's really I've had a chance to just at least glimpse at it prior to the show just to get an idea of where we were going, and I find it fascinating. It's another one of those genius books that it would seem like a very boring subject. It would seem like a really academic subject, but it's written like a detective novel. It is excellent with the fires and the personalities and the discoveries. It's just a phenomenal book. I urge everybody to go buy it. It's on Amazon now, and if you got the email, if you click, I think that link will take you to the Amazon site.
Yeah, I mean, just Antoine Claudet. He's the first photographer working in England. Like his story and is just incredible. He invents everything, right? And so he's really the first real stereo photographer. He's showing his work at the Crystal Palace. And the irony is that he also designed the glass that the Crystal Palace was made with, the upper transepts. And so sort of the light came down on his stereo daguerreotypes, and the Queen of England, Queen Victoria, sees that. And then suddenly stereo becomes a mass medium.
Even the most mundane thing like the word, I dig in. That's what I do. That's my superpower. Anything I get involved in, I got to know how it started. I just dig all the way back, and it always amazes me the trail that got to me doing something and making a buck at. By the way, so it fascinates me. And just a simple thing like the word photography, I never even thought about it, and it says movement, right? That's one of the things you explain in the book, how beautiful it imparts motion, right? Photon. photography and the way they created photographers, photographs, are brilliant. It's such a simple thing, man. That and your book is full of great. Please, I'll shut up.
It was named by John Herschel, and John Herschel is this remarkable person. He's buried next to Newton in Westminster, and there's a reason for that. But his greatest, and Darwin worshipped him. His greatest contribution was that he was a nomenclature expert. And so he named all kinds of things. And photography is one of them. I mean, the pencil of nature, that was a kind of a very poetic title of photography, from William Henry Fox Talbot. But, but the word photography allows many different applications. One could photograph, one could be a photographer. It was the perfect choice.
Such a simple thing like that. Again, your book is full of stuff like that. So I urge everyone to grab it because it's really good. It's good reading in the summer when you're laying on the beach, afraid to go in the water because of sharks. But
I tried to make it interesting to read.
Well, you see, I felt that. I do appreciate that very much, and everybody else might find some interest in it, but I certainly am there. No, it's phenomenal. So let's go on to your to the PowerPoint. We'll work our way through that. And I've had a few little, we'll see how this PowerPoint works. If there's any bumps, blame me. And that's going to be, you don't have to blame the crew. It's all about me screwing up. So let me put this thing down and we'll begin our little journey that you created for us. Can we see that okay?
Yeah. So that's the title. That's the title. And actually, the image comes from a 1903 film of New York City from the Edison Manufacturing Company. And it's basically a phantom ride or a tracking shot around Lower Manhattan. And the image, it actually happens to be the first. It's the primary document of New York as the skyscraper city. Because skyscrapers, they start in New York and also in Chicago. But I did some work with the Skyscraper Museum, and I happen to know that according to the woman who runs that, this is the quintessential image. Anyway, so I was sort of trying to vary the modes of perception and look at this in lots of different ways. And one of the ways was I converted it to stereoscopic. So to see this 1903 skyscraper city anaglyphically in hyperstereo, reveals the space of the early city.
And those layers that you're showing there, could you the significance to those images, right? To what you have at the top, the middle,
Yeah, so I was looking at this footage in all kinds of different ways, but the main thing that I was using, the bottom is a slit scan, a stereoscopic slit scan, but you can probably only see like a little bit of anaglyphic pop out and maybe the third one down, but that's how the entire film looked. Basically, the way the third test down looks. Yeah.
Let's see if we can get this to move. Good. That worked.
So this image, this is Marcel Duchamp's 1918 image, and this is what I saw as an undergrad. The professor showed this, and he didn't understand it. He thought it was important, and I decided, by studying this, I could maybe, learn something about art, something about photography, and it led me to stereo photography and cinema. And I talk about the picture, what it really reveals at the end of this little presentation. Yeah, so that's the main idea, is that when you read a history of cinema, you often it starts with Edward Muybridge and the Horse in Motion pictures, and also maybe Etienne Jules Marais, who was a scientist in France who studied animal locomotion also. But anyway, the key thing that I want to impart to everyone today is that it is also the beginning of cinema. The simple two-frame stereograph is 20 years before Muybridge and Marais. That is where photographic motion begins.
And what year would that be, you thinking?
Well, so that's going to be about 1851, let's say 1849.
Interesting.
And I show you one of the first images coming up, but this plate refers to this thing called the Kaiser panorama, which is this giant piece of furniture, and it had glass stereo pictures, and a bell would ring, and then it would turn to the next place. And this was used mostly as propaganda for the German royal family. And Walter Benjamin uses this idea of the stereoscope as a tool for critical thinking. So it's like the stereoscope becomes this metaphor. And it's also used by people like Deleuze, the French philosopher, and Gilbert Simonton. For them, somehow the stereoscope is their primary metaphor for critical thinking. It's fascinating. So there's a chapter about that.
Now, do you know where these would be? Would these be like somebody's media room, or would this be a
No, you can read about this on Wikipedia. A guy invented it. At one point, I think there were 50 of them, and they were throughout Europe. And there's still a couple. There's one in Berlin, and there's one in Warsaw, and there's one somewhere else. I don't remember where they're kept up, and you can actually see them, experience it. They're sometimes called photoplastico.
Thank you.
So this presentation was developed for people who weren't sure what stereo is. You guys all know what stereoscopes are and stereographs. So
I'm thinking this crowd is pretty understanding of it. They get that.
But the one on the left was the first one, and so that's the Wheatstone 1839. And so then the next slide, this one. This is a fascinating slide because this is a photograph by Antoine Claudet, who really jumpstarts stereophotography, and it's a picture of Charles Wheatstone and his family. And Charles Wheatstone is, he's the guy the scientist who first explains stereoscopic vision, stereopsis. But here in this picture, you not only see him and his family, but he's operating this device that he built, which is an animated wave device. So this is the theory of light as waves and the theory of sound as waves. He worked with both. And this is just an idea of like viewing one medium from the perspective of another, because here we are looking back at this 19th century mass medium from the perspective of the age of generative AI. I mean, writing the book during the 4 years, it started off, I was writing during COVID lockdown, and through to the arrival of generative AI. So this picture, with the S and the A, this is a picture that Charles Wheatstone includes in his first paper on stereoscopic vision. And it's a picture that he developed to represent binocular rivalry. And the title of the book is The Human Shutter. And the human shutter really it's my sort of renaming of binocular rivalry. It's a kind of a description of what it's really like. Well, so all along, so Thomas Wedgwood and Humphrey Davy, they are early inventors of pre-photography, which means that basically they invented all of everything except they couldn't fix the image for more than a few seconds. And so they would keep the images that they made, which were mostly silhouettes, in like light tight boxes. But I did, in the book I explained, I find a case where one of those lasted for 90 years because it was kept in a light tight situation. So Herschel, who I mentioned before, is quite a remarkable person. And all I'll say about him now is that that William Henry Fox Talbot and Daguerre did not invent photography until Herschel visited them. And if you're looking for proof, Herschel's name is listed on Daguerre's patent. And so Herschel invents this idea of fixing the image. And he held off inventing photography until Talbot and Daguerre announced their inventions. And then he invented photography the next week. I'll leave it at that.
Amazing.
There's on the left is William Henry Fox Talbot, and on the right is Antoine Claudet, who I've been talking about. And Talbot is this remarkable person who, before he invents photography, he is doing motion studies, and those are included in this idea of Talbot's law, which has to do with the frequency of repeating light. Light switching on and off, a certain frequency of light switching on and off before you see it as constant. And that's like a foundational idea in cinema. And so he also makes a kind of the first stereo photographs at the request of Wheatstone, but they don't work, because one thing is the two captures are too far apart. And also the light has changed dramatically, light and shadow, since that time. This is, Antoine Claudet is the only person in history to be elected to the Royal Society as a photographer. And the reason why is because they say he basically invented portrait photography. And if you go, which sounds like a crazy idea, how can one person do that? But if you go to the next page, yeah, so these people who are listed here, which include not only Talbot, but David Brewster, John Herschel, Michael Faraday, and Charles Babbage, who invented the computer, they all say he invents portrait photography. And there's all their signatures. Claudet invented all of those things. I'm not going to go through them right now, but he sort of invents all of photography, this one person. Let's just go to the next one.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. That's just mind-blowing.
Like he invents the safe light, which is the dark room. So this is possibly the first moving photograph, and it's a self-portrait of Claudet smoking a cigarette.
Fascinating.
And I made these images as sort of little flicker films instead of anaglyphs because it's just harder to see the binocular rivalry. It's when you can view a side-by-side stereograph, then the brain will create this flicker effect. And this is a simulation of the human shutter effect that's about to start. It's a 1-minute film. It's a Giorgio Summer stereograph. But you can see the horse and carriage are sort of rather dramatically moving, which seems like it would be a mistake, except that Summer does this over and over and over. I call it crowd control.
Great.
This particular one that you're about to see is totally remarkable. Like this walking man. I mean, I'm claiming this is the beginning of cinema.
So just explain this a little bit, because I'm a dumb guy like me. Okay, so these aren't stereographs, right? He's taking these two images.
These are stereographs.
Got it. Okay, well, dumb guy got it now. Okay, I understand it. I hope everybody else understands it.
This one is just an incredible stereograph. Let me just explain why. It's the Roman Forum, and there are these trees that are in the lower left. And what he's done, it's hard to see with just, you're only seeing one one of the two of the pair of photos here, but the other one, the trees are grown. And the images are literally taken years apart. And this photographer is, he's getting his audience to fuse a stereo image that literally it's taken maybe 10 or 20 years apart, the two parts of the stereo image.
I'm going to go back to that other one again. I just want you to explain something to me in that video.
Yeah.
So, well, actually, we probably explain it as we're moving along. But so now he's taking. So in other words, when you're looking at that stereo card, right?
Yeah.
One image is moved and the other image is like a moment later. Is that how he's getting that effect of the walking? I mean, I'm trying to figure that out. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not clear to me.
So, okay. So in early stereo, I mean, probably most of our audience knows this. They didn't have dual lens cameras. And so people would take a picture and then move their rig to, a few inches to the side and set it up and then take another image. And so there was duration. There was like, a couple of minutes between captures. And during that time, carriages moved, boats moved, any number of things happened. But then some people saw that, like Giorgio Sommer, and said, hey, I can do something with that. I can make movies. So look at that. You see the trees and not the trees? Well, if you look closely at the image, it's not because they were cut down, it's because they grew. And so like just the audacity of trying to get people to fuse a stereo pair that are separated by years. It's just this incredible thing. So I just learned a great deal from that image.
That's excellent. Well, thanks for that. Maybe at least I didn't understand, but now I got it. Clearly got it. I just wasn't sure how that effect happened.
So this is another kind of motion in early stereographs. It's called a luster or pearlescence or bicolor or color rivalry. And so if you look at the still image that's on the left, you'll see, for instance, that shells that are either blue or red on the left are kind of the opposite colors on the right. And that creates kind of the pearlescent effect of shells, right? And so the animation is meant to show you the change, how the difference in those colors. So it's another kind of motion in early stereographs. This is a remarkable image. It's essentially the Pygmalion story, and where Pygmalion is a sculptor in ancient Greece, and he creates this beautiful sculpture.
Sorry. All right.
And then the sculpture, he goes to the Temple of Venus, and she grants him to make that sculpture come alive. And so this stage magician, A.B. Carrington, he probably did this on stage, but he makes this stereograph, and where, because of binocular rivalry, the effect is of the statue coming to life is animated in the stereograph format. So it's incredible to see this. Ken Jacobs, again, I know my friend Jerry Marks knows Ken very well. He's an avant-garde filmmaker who's worked pretty much exclusively with stereo film, experimental stereo film. And this is one of them. It's called Capitalism, Child Labor. And what's remarkable about it is it's literally a photograph, in this Underwood and Underwood, this is like kind of 1900 era, the curved stereo mounts, like Keystone and Underwood are contemporary. Anyway, there's a little boy there on the right without shoes standing on the factory floor. And, they're being forced to, to be indentured servants, to work in these factories. And this still happens in many places throughout the world. Okay, so yes, so here we are back at the sort of my original inspiration that got me interested in looking at stereographs closely. And so I say, what does it mean? Well, basically, there's a rivalry effect going on. And I'm going to show, if we look at the next slide. Yeah, so this is the Necker cube, which is a bistable figure. And it means that you can see the cube in two perspectives. If you go, and actually Wheatstone creates the original Necker cube, although Necker didn't know that. But if you go to the next slide, okay, yeah, so that's the famous duck rabbit. So here's the idea. So you look at this and you can see a duck or you can see a rabbit, but you can't see them both at the same time. The brain switches between a duck and a rabbit, and it doesn't dissolve them together. It just sees the one or the other. And so if you go back 2 slides to the Duchamp stereograph right there. So this, what's remarkable about this is like the key, is that in 2D, there's a flipping effect where this geometric figure, you can either sort of be looking down on it or looking up at it. Okay, that's not a stereo thing. That's just a 2D thing. So you can look at one. So it kind of flickers in 2D, but it also flickers in 3D. So if this were an anaglyph and you kind of switched your glasses from red and cyan to cyan and red, then the thing flips in 3D too. So it flips in both 2D and in 3D. So Duchamp had all of these ideas about the fourth dimension and different geometrical spaces. And so this is like flipping in 2D and in 3D. It's an incredible image. Okay, and so you can see here that in his most famous work, probably The Large Glass, that's kind of divided down the middle the same way, in the stereograph, the ocean and the sky are kind of divided in the middle. And then the image in the lower right is by one of my favorite photographers, Sugimoto, great fine art photographer. And he's a Duchampian and he's totally aware of where this is coming from. So yeah, you see this. So in the large glass, the bottom is like the perspective view and the top is the fourth dimensional view. We're ready for the next. And so this is how Duchamp thinks. And so in a way, this is kind of like a stereograph, although it's not stereo at all, because he's playing with, the idea. See, like these he was trying to do things that were not like painting and sculpture, not like traditional art. He blamed the Impressionists for making what he called retinal art that didn't have the brain involved. And so then he gets really involved in this non-retinal art, and the stereograph is the primary example. And he does stereo work his entire life. And then the day that he dies, earlier in the day, he had gone off to buy anaglyphic glasses that same day. There's a whole book about that. Anyway, here's a portrait of Duchamp himself, as a female. And so he's like flipping between male and female. It's sort of like binocular rivalry. Here's some other examples. Now, I remember once Alphonse Schilling, I spell his name incorrectly there, he took me to visit someone he wanted me to meet, which was Jerry Marx, who you all know. And so we both knew Alphonse quite well. And here he is with this incredible device, which is a stereo seeing machine that also not only, it's kind of like, I don't know if you can make out what's going on, but it has these long tubes at each eye. So you're really only seeing this small crop of the world, but then you are carrying around this giant, wooden structure. It's very light, but you still occupy this space. And so he's working with like compressing his stereoscopic space and increasing his physical space. This is just one of his works. So a remarkable artist working with stereoscopic vision. So is Robert Smithson. So these things called enantiomorphic chambers are basically a Wheatstone stereoscope with mirrors, but here the mirrors kind of reflect back upon each other. And he's critical of human vision, and through this metaphor of the stereoscope, he develops this kind of vision which is fixated on deep time and geology. He's like obsessed with geological time. And this is the work, this stereoscopic work is the work that brings him from kind of like expressionist painting to his earthworks, like the spiral jetty that he's most famous for. And this is a crazy image that kind of looks like a Duchamp picture in a way, but it's made by Charles Proteus Steinmetz. Now, Steinmetz had dwarfism, but he's the foundational scientist for the General Electric company. He invents all of these electric motors that are used in the early phase of the company. But he was friends with Einstein, and Einstein would call him up all the time to solve mathematical problems for him. So later in life, in fact, it's published the year before he dies, he publishes a book about the special theory of relativity that includes a lot of stereographs in it. And it's a book sort of designed to explain the special theory of relativity to common people, although there's still a lot of math in it. It's really for engineers. And anyway, that image was the space-time continuum. It's a stereo. And this is where we're ending up in this little presentation. And so because the book is really about photography and time, and the stereograph is a key building block of that story. It's all about temporality, from the very beginning, from Wedgwood and Davy through the digital, but then suddenly with the arrival of generative AI, something has changed because it's no longer about the photographic moment, sort of state-of-the-art technological photography. It's about like creating a somehow like a blend or averaging of many, many, many pictures to come up with one. And so there's no longer, the temporal moment is no longer part of what that kind of photograph is. And so that's what the red line is. That's it.
My friend, where did I go? Where's I get my picture? Phenomenal. What a great journey that you've enticed us to take by digging into your book. Now, what is the most amazing thing in the book? What amazed you most? And it can't be the word photography. You see how simple my brain works. That amazed me. But what is the thing that amazed you most?
Well, I mean, again, this idea that the foundation of photographic cinema is the two-frame format of the stereograph. That's the key thing.
Yeah, wonderful. That opens a door up to, as we were just discussing during the rehearsals, that the CEO of YouTube mentioned in February that now they're 1 billion hours a day. And that goes it's all tied together. It's all in that timeline, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all an amazing moment for all of us, because I guess we're the second or third group or generation or maybe really the first or second generation to be able to visualize from the things from the past, not just imagine them, but actually see them, and of course that leads to experience, because we are really, with a book like yours, a phenomenal book like yours, with the work coming out of London Stereoscopic by Denny Pallerin, the late Lenny Lipton on cinema, and who's been a guest here, Steven Pinker, the cognitive psychologist. It's a really, you wouldn't guess this by looking at a newspaper, but it's a time of enlightenment, understanding these things, how these experiences drive the human race forward. Would you have sculptures, you had painting, and they were beautiful. I'm not knocking those in any way, but capturing photons is a it's an interesting experience for in historically. And your book does a wonderful job. You're an inquisitive fellow, and thank you for being such an inquisitive fellow, because really you do everyone a service. Thank you very much, and I'm going to enjoy thank you for the little advanced copy, but I want the real thing, man. And next time I see it, I'm going to have you sign it in ANAGLYPH. Thank you, Robert. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, John.
That was fantastic, man. That was wonderful. Now, our next guest comes to us from Shanghai, China. And hopefully he stayed awake, because as we know, it's 4 a.m. So I hope he's had the caffeinated tea, not decaffeinated, but caffeinated. The name of the book, it's A Human Shudder, Photographs, Stereoscopic Depth, and Moving Images by our friend Robert Bowen. Thank you, my friend. Did you stay awake? I maybe
Yes.
fell asleep.
大家好.
Oh, my phenomenal. Well, I'm going to move the spotlight and see you. Unmute yourself. You're allowed to talk, or at least pass out. If you could say passing out for 45 more minutes, I'd appreciate it. We'd all appreciate it.
Yeah, I stay awake.
Thank you, man.
My mind is clear.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Again, now, let me introduce you properly. Our next guest comes to us from Shanghai, China, and he's founder of SLAM XCAM. Please welcome. It says James Wang, but Hao Wang. Thank you very much for staying up and enduring. And I'm going to try to be as slow as possible, because you are brilliant enough, like many of these folks who watch, to speak several languages. I can hardly get out English. We know that already, and everybody accepts that about me. Okay, so I'm going to try to slow down and act like I'm from New York. So, what got you involved in 3D imaging initially?
Actually, it's from my last company that called Black Shark, that Tencent had invested this company like many monies to make a VR headset to compare with Meta Quest like this. But the VR headset not sold well. Like 2023 that years not sold well. So the Tencent stopped the invest, and this company stopped. But we have spent, the whole company has spent 1 year to do research on VR headset, and like technology and the community, and and how people use it. So I play a role like do the research a part of this, and I find the most interested was like stereo image and videos. So after this company that stopped, I decided to continue to do research on this area, and I want to make a styrofoam at the beginning. So I had after my graduate, I had worked in a smartphone company for near 10 years, like in Huawei, in OnePlus, and like Xiaomi, Black Shark, like this. So I really want to bring a styro smartphone for the people, but like in the market, there are already Apple and Huawei, like Samsung, that big smartphone company. So I realized that maybe it's not that necessary for a new smartphone brand. So I and my team turn into making like a professional, more professional stereo cameras. Yeah.
Excellent. Great answer. Joe, could you run that? We're gonna run some of the images that Hao sent us along the way, and just so you can get a rough idea.
Yeah.
So
this IPD I think like much more close to average people's air IPD. Yeah. This is some pictures we take with our models. Like it has like a very big CMOS.
Are those those little dots? So that's where the mic is.
Yes, yes, yes. In the middle there are two mics. Yes. Okay, next image. Okay. I want to introduce the lens, the camera. It has used like a very excellent CMOS, like from Omnivision, 1.5 like sorry, let me check.
No problem.
A little complex. Yeah, this is the picture taken by our cameras. And one situation we want to use users use our cameras is like live streaming. Like they can do live streaming in the VR headset or MR headset to like some teaching or traveling show, or also can like some meetings. And like this one is like we want to show the users like they can live stream like MR version TikTok or MR version YouTube that shows their technology, cooking, or something.
So Hao, if you don't mind my interrupting,
Perfect.
for the live streaming, is the person watching going to be using a VR headset? Is that the best way to watch a live stream of the VR 180? What are the ways that the live stream is best watched?
Uh, our camera support like RTMP, and people like can use these tunnels to do live stream and watch the. I recommend like using MR headset.
Mm-hmm.
And also I find some Pied like support 3D can also watch the live streams.
Mm-hmm.
Frame rate? What is the maximum frame rate?
The max frame rate, like a full live stream, is like a 13 frame rate, 30 FPS, and for like for videos, up to 50 FPS.
And are those? I just want to clarify: is that 8K per eye, or is it total 8K?
It is a total 8K. Each air like a 4K.
Am I right that at 8K you can get 30 frames per second? In other words, the frames per second is tied into the resolution. So at full resolution, it's 30 frames per second?
Yes, for 8K it is 30 FPS, and for 6K it is like 50 FPS.
And I noticed from your sample images, I have a CAF camera, which was another
inexpensive VR180 camera that came out, I guess, 2 years ago, and it distorts it. Basically, they save bandwidth by not capturing the full 180 image, but rather uh, cutting off the top and the bottom and then just putting in lines, filling it in sort of. It looks like your camera is capturing the full 180-degree image area. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a significant improvement over something like the CAF, which I know is a competitor to what you're doing, or a similar product.
Actually, I don't want to judge the other brand, but maybe something is appropriate to talk. Like, I think CAF is much more like traditional cameras. That much more like traditional TOS cameras. But our camera is like a more intelligent cameras that it supports like a live stream and share, and also you can play video games through our cameras.
Oh,
And
really?
we have, yeah, we have much more powerful SoC and excellent like screen. So the ultra design and is very easy to use for users. For anyone like um, have a smartphone and he can easily use our cameras. It is much more like using a smartphone.
Now, is there any way to synchronize multiple SLAM cams? Because there's a lot of applications where it would be really fun, perhaps, to create 360-degree images with multiple cameras or to do multiple camera shoots. Is there any option, or do you think there might be any way to synchronize multiple cameras?
Yes. From hardware, there is like clock. A clock. Every CMOS has a clock in hardware. If they use the same clock, and they will like start working at the same time. So to like simplify the multi-camera from the hardware using use the same clock, and in the software, and one CMOS get the image and will save in the DDR, and another CMOS also get an image saved the DDR. They need to wait in the DDR and then use the codec to make a video together. From hardware to software, do the two-step will make
Great. Yeah, that's a very
yeah.
exciting. That opens a
Yeah.
lot of exciting possibilities
Yeah.
to be able to synchronize multiple cameras.
So is there a way to maybe I misunderstood that. Is there a way to gen lock them on the site, or is that done through another piece of software? To synchronize them. To synchronize them. I know. In other words, synchronize just to work on what Jim was saying. To synchronize the multiple cameras.
Oh, okay. I sorry, I didn't understand your question. It is like how to do it, or
well, to synchronize them so that so they all lock up, so you can actually do that 360 that Jim was. Maybe you explained it. I'll watch my own YouTube and figure it out. No, I think we'll go on to
okay.
this. How available is that camera now?
Yes. I think if you want to buy our camera now, it's the best time, and we will deliver and ship out as soon as possible. Like tomorrow, I will actually it's already morning in Shanghai, and I will went to the factory today and then do the exam and then do the test and package all the cameras, and everything will be ready these days.
Soon. So okay, great. So probably when will you be shipping them? Is there a
I think it's April 15, April 15 or April 16. We shipped
Wow.
out. Yeah.
Tax
And
day?
we are, of course,
President.
having questions in our chat. Do you think you're able to keep the price stable? We understand there's a lot of issues affecting prices of goods going between, of different countries. Is that something you think we can at least say what the camera costs now is what it will cost if we order it today or tomorrow? Should we order soon to get the price stable?
Yes, we will get the price stable. Yeah. Maybe some like a different country has a different tax, I think, but also China and USA has the tax rule these days. But we can always find some way, like from different country, we send our product to Hong Kong, from Hong Kong to USA. This tax will be low, I think.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
We hope so.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, always there's a way. Yeah.
Always a way.
Yeah.
I know you had a Kickstarter, or I guess the first people who ordered through the Kickstarter are going to get delivery first, and
yes, so we have prepared like more device, like we had product we had to make like for Kickstarter also we had extra product, so we will delay it out for Kickstarter first and then for the open sale. Yeah.
Well, it would be nice to see, once you actually have one available. You're welcome back anytime, so long as you can stay awake. As far as I'm concerned, you're welcome back anytime. And maybe if you ship some to the States, maybe we could talk to a user, and have a user on at the same time. That would be very helpful, I think, for everybody to see. Hopefully, move your product. I wish you the best of luck. You're a brilliant guy, and I love to see entrepreneurship around the world, and you're certainly a perfect shining example of that, man. Any entrepreneur that can stay up till four in the morning to do what you did is dear to my heart. So I thank you. Do you have anything else you'd like to talk to us about? Because if you got to go in 4 hours to go look at the first camera, I'd like you at least to not have blurry eyes.
We are wondering if is there any sample footage if we go on your website, or is there any on YouTube, any actual output of the camera we can look at?
In our YouTube, we have, and also DOVR, we have our some like videos, but it's all old videos. For the last month, we all worked on like making products and update the software. And actually, we don't have any extra. We want to use the new device to make the new videos. So we didn't update and videos for all the device, so we didn't update. So
well, we will watch
maybe,
for the new ones because that's very exciting.
Yeah. For in the coming new weeks, we will update more videos, and we have like I talked with some users. They will use our device, like making a lot of videos, and I think in the coming months, coming days, there will be more excellent videos come out.
Well, as soon as you've got stuff to send, I'm sure Jim and everyone agrees. Just send it to us, and we'll make sure we air it and try to get people's interest up. Yeah. Thank you, Hao. Thank you very much for sticking with us.
Thanks for staying awake. It's late at night in Shanghai.
Thank you.
In the morning.
I really like this show. Right. I really like this show, and
thank you, man. Your wife and your kids. I guess the kids are ready for school in another 2 hours, and you're off to the factory. The best of luck with everything, my friend. The best of luck, man.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, if you stick around for the after party, Robert, there may be some questions in the after party if you want to stick around, but I think we covered a lot. Robert, are you still around? There may be questions for you too in the after party. There you go. You came back to life. Thank you so much. Well, a big thanks to this week's guests.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, man. Robert Bowen and Hao Wang. And thanks to our amazing crew for making this all possible. Stereodoro, Jay Kuznets, Jim Hart, Joe Padota did triple duty today. Thank you so much. Paul Hutchins, he's off doing good stuff. And like always, whatever he's doing, it's kind and it's good. We know that already. And Herb Weiner, he's also kind of good. He's out there in Portland looking to protect the coast of the west coast of America against earthquakes. And thank you for stopping by to see what you've been missing in 3D. Well, this part of the program's come to an end. Now we change gears, and you know what we do? We go to the after party where your mics will be open, but do me a favor with the mics. Only open the mic when you have a question, because otherwise we get to hear what your life is like. And even though we're very curious, we prefer not to imagine what that's about. So thank you very much, Joe. You could roll the credits, and I'll see you guys in a few minutes before the after party. After the after party. Thank you.